Okay, thank you, and welcome back to our channel, Passionately Devoted, with Charlene and
Kaya.
Good. Well, we're gonna go over the Ten Commandments. We're gonna go over the first five Ten Commandments and kind of go in depth. And I will also have a PowerPoint ready for you to view and look over. We're not gonna go everything like detail for detail because that is really something that you should do on your own. So we're just.
But if you do have questions, you can go to us on the Facebook.
Yeah.
And we'll be sure to answer them for you if you don't know where to look for if you can't really find an answer to your question.
Yes. And we're gonna just kind of go over kind of like a summary of the first five Ten Commandments because it is quite long. However, the PowerPoint does have questions and things for you to answer and to look up for your own Bible study. So where would you find the Ten Commandments?
You would find the Ten Commandments in Exodus, that is Old Testament, and chapter 20, verse 3 through 17.
Yes, that is correct. And the first commandment is Exodus 20, verse 3.
You shall not have no other gods before me.
That's right. And what do you think that means?
I think it basically means that what God is saying, or the Lord is trying to say, I am your only God, and there is no God before me.
That's right. So God is only one God, despite any of the other false gods, correct?
Yes, like idols.
He is the one true God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with that, I would say to kind of go over that in more detail as far as to ask questions. Like the one particular question I have on here is, what is the reason we should not put any other gods before our God, Jehovah? So, you want to kind of go into detail in that. Open up your Bibles, read the scripture, and things of that sense. We do have only one eternal God and one true God, one God who is self-existent, and the source. He is the source of all things. So he is definitely the only one to be worshipped, that needs to be worshipped.
But what if the viewers have a question like, who is Jehovah?
That's just another name that we call God. God is a God of many names. He is also called I Am. He is also called Lord. He is also called, what was the other one?
Now, what does Jehovah mean?
God, like our Father. So that's just another way, another name to call him, but it's still the same thing as God. So, and then moving on to the second commandment, which is Exodus 20, verse 4 through 6.
Now, can I read this?
Mm-hmm.
You shall not make yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in underwater, that is in the underwater, the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them, for I am the Lord your God. I am a jealous God, visiting the
iniquity
of the fathers upon the children to third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments.
Okay, so what do you think that says? I know that was a lot to go over, so it probably would be best to kind of break it down. Um, so basically, you shall not make for yourself a carved image. So, what is he telling Moses? What is God telling Moses to tell you or to tell his people?
To not make ourselves an idol or another god.
That's right. So, certain things can be idols, such as money, figurines, different types of figurines or
Buddhas.
statues, Buddhas, things of that nature. Those things we should not worship because, one, it is beneath God, and those things don't do anything for you. And, God is the only God that should
And
be
He is our source.
revered. Right. And He is the source of everything. We do not need anything else. Correct?
Correct.
And, also, with the second commandment, anything, I think here it also kind of explains in a way that, as parents, what we teach our children is going to be a continuation of what it is that happens or what it is that we continue to worship. So when we teach our children to worship specific things like such as money or seeing things as something that we should just be, oh gosh, I love that electronic, I love that tablet,
It's like the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Right. And really it isn't. It's just a material thing that is on the earth and will no longer be needed once we're gone. So
yes,
it's important to teach our children that those things are not of God.
And in heaven we will have better things.
That's right. We have better things to come, so we don't need these earthly things. And to move on to the third commandment, Exodus 20, verse 7.
You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain.
So what does that mean to you?
I think it means I've read this in my book, and it's basically saying, how, oh my God, it's so common around here,
That's right.
That is basically saying God's name carelessly, which is in vain. You don't care that you're using his name.
That's right.
You're basically calling unwanted attention from God.
That is right. That is right. So when we call upon God, it has to be
worth
for that necessity, it's not to be taken for granted. It's something that we need to cherish. Because just like when we call his name in prayer, we want his attention and
so he can answer our prayers.
That's right, so that he can answer our prayers and be there to listen to what we have to say. But if we're just, carelessly saying his name just for the sake of it or for the sake of the situation, that's taking his name in vain and using it carelessly and disrespectfully. So we don't want to do that. And for the fourth commandment, it is Exodus 20, verses 8 through 11.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work. You nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hollow day.
So that is so important. When I was going through these and I was looking at it, and I put it to our current livelihood and things that we do, and it's kind of one of those things that we've come adapted to. And hey, keep yourself busy, we have to work, we have to do these things, we have to get them done. But I think the way that the world has gone is really a way for Satan to block us and keep us
from families.
Well, not from necessarily families, but from God.
Because what this verse is saying is to keep the Sabbath day holy.
Right. It's a holy day. It's a day that we should rest, and a time to reflect on the things that we did the past week. It's time to reflect on God and refresh our minds and rejuvenate our bodies and allow ourselves to get the rest that is required, so that way on the upcoming week God's plans will be worked out the way they should be worked out, and in a timely manner and such. But as I'm teaching my daughter that this is not an excuse to be lazy, in the sense, because you have to work, you have to be working, and for those 6 days you have to make it count. Every day counts. So on that 7th day we are planning on having just a rest, and just
on a Saturday.
Yeah, just to lounge around and really kind of
play with,
take in
friends,
have
relax
fun
with friends. Because I'm definitely meeting someone I like to give a shout out to, Maylee, and her family, of course.
Yes. So we're definitely going to incorporate that now, and it's really important, I think, that we do this. So definitely take a look at this and see what you can do. It's not only important for our children to spend time with them, but it's good for God. It's a time to really take it all in and really enjoy what we have, and reflect on the things that we have, and not take those things for granted, because God has given us so many blessings. And despite where you are in your life, everything that you have, it is a blessing. Everything that you do, from the moment that you wake up in the morning, the breath of life is such an enormous blessing, because we're constantly breathing without having to think about it. So, there's so many things that God has given us, and, so many things that He's made so easily. It's just ourselves that we get in our own way. So definitely I would encourage that you take the time, make the time, even if you can't make it a full day. At least work toward that full day, work toward that, one day a week, to really take time out and enjoy one another, enjoy fellowshipping with, your friends and family, and time together, because I think that is just so important. And I really think that God enjoys that, when we're able to do that, when we're able to sit down and fellowship and enjoy each other's company, even if we're not saying anything really, or have nothing to talk about. It's just a matter of being in each other's presence, and lifting one another up, being there for each other. I think it's just something very sacred, and I would take that seriously, as I would take anything seriously with God. But anyway, moving on to the 5th commandment.
Exodus 20:12. Honor your mother and father, and that your days may belong upon the land which your Lord your God is giving you.
Absolutely.
So this is something for all the children out here who are watching this with their parents, or the children just watching them by themselves. You should really honor your mother and father because they are the ones who have raised you. They are the ones who have cared for you like God, and they deserve so many things.
You're so sweet.
And God will give you longer days on this earth if you honor your mother and father.
That's right. So, it's important that we teach our children and show our children the importance of being respectful and having manners. I, for one, Kaya is becoming a teenager. She's creeping into the teenage years. So she's right now in the,
Third
beginning
grade.
season of preteen or the tween situation there. And things are getting quite transparent as far as her changing. Her mood changes, her just growing up. She's in that in-between stage that, between that child and that teenage year where things start to really develop, not just physically, but, mentally and emotionally, the hormones and things, So it's important that we try to figure things out. And, I've tried to read self-help books and I've read them, and there's certain things that I agree with, certain things that I don't agree with. Blogs that I've read about, how to deal with attitudes, how to deal with, the talking back and the temper tantrums. I mean, sometimes I feel like she behaves better and more mature when she was a toddler than when she is at this age now, which is funny because she never had temper tantrums, but now she does, and it's getting out of control. So, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. She says no, but it is crazy, let me tell you. Okay, so, being able to teach her, God's ways, I feel, how could I go wrong in that aspect? So to be able to teach her to respect and honor her parents, for one, to start, and then her elders, that's why it was so important for me to try and get her, as close to family as possible. And
this is why my mom
with
is
God's
moving
work
everyone from the family into our house.
Yes, and it's wonderful that God has allowed me to do that, and I think it's such a blessing, and I love it. But yes, I think if you have any questions, any ideas, please feel free to start a conversation on our Facebook page about your teens, preteens, tweens, just so that we could discuss it and talk about it and share our ideas. I do feel that this particular script is one thing that is really, really important to start with. Number one, it puts God first, and number two, it puts that precedence of God and that presence of God, and to show that our kids, hey, God's watching you. He gave us this authority over you, so you shouldn't treat us this way, or you shouldn't have such a bad attitude. So let's try to work on that and fix it. And I think by reaching out to God, and as a parent learning from God, we're definitely going to find a way to teach our children that is in a way of, love and understanding, patience, and working with God through it. I think is the best and first answer to reach for. So anybody that's having issues with that, I don't care how terrible the situation. This could be an adult child, who ran away from home when they were a teenager and you're still having issues or you haven't seen them. Somebody's child who's living on the street. Don't think for a second that they are too far gone, that they're not going to understand. Because let me tell you, even though you're an adult, you're still a child. You're still a child of God, and you still throw temper tantrums when we don't get our way. So yes, adults can be children at times and not have grown up respectably. When we ask God for something and he doesn't give it to us, or he doesn't answer quick enough, and here we are pouting, feeling disappointed, feeling tired, feeling exhausted, and saying, oh, woe is me, and having basically our own adult temper tantrums. So it's important that we teach our children from the start, and if you could teach them as early as you can, of course that's so encouraged. And like I said, no matter how far gone you think they are, there is always hope. And with God's help, you can do anything, because he can do anything. And we just have to ask for it. So don't think that, nothing could ever be so bad that God can't fix it. He could fix everything. So let's continue to put our trust in him. Continue to allow him to, have our children put their trust in us, and to love us and cherish us and be kind.
Anyway, is this it?
That's it. That's all we got today.
Bye. We'll try to do weekly uploads.
Yeah, we're going to work harder on doing the weekly uploads. But yes, you will find the document, the PowerPoint, on Facebook. I will have it posted. And if you have any questions, just let me know. If it's not coming up, because I'm going to try something different. And hopefully you can get it to where you can just download it. And it'll be easy. I do have some extras on there. But like I said, I just wanted to kind of go through and get a good summary going for you. Something to start off with your kids. But we will see you next week.